Now, I want to put a disclaimer that I do love LinkedIn. I think it's one of the best tools on the market, but even I have some issues with it. So in this video, I'm going to share with you my 6 biggest annoyances with the LinkedIn platform. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff. Today I want to talk to you about one of the most hotly debated subjects on my channel, the LinkedIn platform. I've made other videos about the LinkedIn platform and how you can position yourself best, and as you watch this channel, you know that I'm a firm believer in the value that LinkedIn can drive for you. And now as a corporate recruiter with over 20 years of experience interviewing and hiring thousands of people into some of the world's largest and most well-known companies, we actually use LinkedIn extensively in order to find the very best candidates. And I'm not just speaking for myself, I'm speaking for almost all of my recruiter friends that I've worked with in the past. We all use LinkedIn Recruiter extensively because we can target in on the perfect candidates in the perfect industries with the perfect skill sets. And I would venture to say that some of the best opportunities on the market can be found inside of LinkedIn, or the recruiters who are working for those companies are out looking on LinkedIn in order to find their talent base. Now, it's not to say that LinkedIn is the be-all end-all, and there are other ways that you can get found. However, LinkedIn is a great starting point. If you're somebody that's fiercely against the LinkedIn platform for whatever reason, I can understand why, but just know that you're potentially missing out on some really great opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise. But it doesn't mean that LinkedIn is without its issues, because I certainly have them on my end. And I probably spend more time on LinkedIn than the average person, both on the recruiting side and on the front-facing side that you're most familiar with. In this video, I actually want to cover a few of the things that I find to be the most annoying. Before we get too far into it, if you're interested in more videos directly from a corporate recruiter on how to land your dream job and general career advice, make sure you hit the subscribe button and click that notification bell. So my first issue with the LinkedIn platform is the proliferation of spam marketing. And usually it comes in the form of an invite into my inbox. Somebody will connect with me, and I usually accept most connection requests because due to the nature of my business, I get a lot of people from all over the world that want to connect, and I really appreciate connecting with people who follow along. But it never fails. 1 out of every 6 or 7 that seems to connect with me, immediately you'll look at their profile and there will be something kind of fishy about it. It'll be they'll have something in there that you go, oh, I just know if I hit this connect button, we'll see what happens. Hit the connect button, and sure enough, within 10 minutes of me hitting the connect button, they all of a sudden are going immediately into a sales pitch. There's no, hey, how you doing? There's no warming you up. It's just immediately into a sales pitch to buy some crappy product that I'm not interested, to buy some, or sign up for some crappy service that I'm not interested in. And it could be, I get a lot of multi-tier marketing, so those pyramid marketing schemes, which are super annoying. Like nobody wants to sign up for your insurance sales or your selling of your product that's a multi-tier marketing, or signing up to be a financial planner. So that aspect of it is pretty annoying. And I would even take it to a further level of people who are trying to solicit you. If you assign a status on your, maybe you join a new organization or like when I worked at Amazon, I got a whole bunch of people that were hitting me up to buy their supplemental insurance because they worked with other Amazon employees. And I'm like, I don't care. But that's the first thing that they say to you as soon as you can hit the connection button. So that is super annoying, and I don't know of a way to shut it off other than to just be really selective about who I'm accepting. And I actually have unfortunately for you, I have if you're somebody that is legitimately trying to connect with me because you want to network with me and you enjoy my message, if you come from a background that looks like you're going to sell me, I probably will deny the request. So hopefully that doesn't offend anybody. If you're trying to connect with me because you legitimately want to connect with me because of the channel or whatever, I would recommend that if you're going to send me a LinkedIn request, just put a little note saying, hey, I saw you on YouTube and I really liked you, or you liked your comment. I wanted to connect with you. And it'll be an indicator that you're not just going to try to sell me or market me something, because let's face it, people don't like to be marketed right out of the gate. So people who spam market you is one of my biggest issues. And I think that that's probably, out of all of the issues on LinkedIn, that might be my biggest issue, is that there just seems to be a lot of that. So if you're not on LinkedIn because of that, I totally get it. It is annoying for me. I've just kind of learned to start being more selective with who I accept. So that'd be the first one. So the second major thing that annoys me about LinkedIn is actually going to flip the script a little bit onto me, and not me specifically, but the recruiting function in general. There are a lot of bad quality employers and really low quality recruiters and headhunters that are going out and essentially they do the spray and pray method, where they will spray out thousands of invites and hope that somebody's going to respond positively to their solicitation for job opportunity. A lot of times these are tech. I know people in tech really hear this a lot, especially if you get people from unreputable companies trying to hit you up for interview for us. Here's a job, and then when you actually dig into the job, it's a really low quality employer, really low quality. They don't pay correctly, and essentially waste your time. So if you're in a high demand situation and you're getting hit up by a lot of recruiters, I can totally understand why that would be super annoying. The thing that sucks about it from my perspective, who is approaching you with maybe a really high quality job that pays well and is with a reputable company, is that because you're so jaded by getting bombarded with all of these really poor quality opportunities, then you don't consider my opportunity. And so that becomes more difficult for me to recruit you. So I'm going to say from my perspective as a high quality employer, those low quality employers actually cloud the waters for us, and it makes it harder to get good quality candidates to consider us. And I know some of you have said I've gotten bombarded with so many bad quality opportunities that I just closed down my account and went and left the platform. Now that means that there's less candidates for me to go off and try to find for my good positions. So I have an issue with it just like you. And even on my side as a recruiter, I get hit up a lot too for opportunities. And a vast majority of them are very low quality. They're contract jobs. They are somewhere that's they ask for the moon and pay half of what I'm getting paid. All of those things. So I totally understand from that perspective why you would not like that. And I will say mine is twofold. It's because again, I can't find the candidates I want because the low quality ones are scaring you off, and then I'm also getting bombarded with poor quality ones. So that would be my second one. Third major issue I have with LinkedIn, and this is not just for LinkedIn, it kind of goes on all platforms, but LinkedIn is where most of us spend a lot of our time in the job search market. I know a lot of people in my network and a lot of people come to me, they complain about the incessant ghosting. And I will probably make a separate video on why employers ghost. A lot of times it's lazy recruiting is kind of the main reason, and then there are times where recruiters are overloaded and can't get back to every candidate, and it's bad. And I'm not excusing it at all. I'm not a proponent of it. I try my hardest not to ghost anybody myself, but there are times where something just slips through the cracks when you're working with it on 50 recs and you've got 250, 300 candidates kind of floating around. It can be challenging. But on my end, I've been ghosted too. So it's not just when you ghost the recruiter, you're a recruiter ghosting another recruiter. You would think that there would be some sort of informal, hey, we're in the same industry or doing the same type of work, the kind of a gentleman's agreement type of thing. But I don't get the same courtesy. So I've been ghosted plenty of times. It is super annoying, and I am on the same page as you are with the annoyance toward ghosting employers. And really, it's just bad form, especially when you go through a long interview process and you're actually engaged with a recruiter, and especially if the recruiter comes to you and solicits you, and then all of a sudden they just ghost you. And it happens all the time. Okay, so we've covered some of the back end, people soliciting you, kind of getting these direct messages on the message side of things. I'm going to shift my focus to more the front end. When you log into LinkedIn and you just start scrolling through your feed, there are some things that are annoying there too. And some of them you might think sound a little bit petty, but I think that there are some things on there that can kind of rub people the wrong way. For me, it's a few things. The first one is it's a proliferation of these feel-good stories. I know you're probably thinking, what's wrong with a feel-good story or two in order to make you feel better about your day? But I would actually venture to say some of those make people feel worse, especially people who are posting about how much success they're having and how they've overcome all this adversity. And I think if you're somebody that is not having success and having difficulty overcoming adversity, it's kind of like this idea of self-help gurus, and they talk about self-help in a way that makes you kind of feel worse about yourself. So I look at some of the because there's not actionable items there. I guess there's not meat on the bone, and so I look at some of these feel good stories as kind of being demotivators. The second thing is, it seems like there's a lot of showboating that goes on the LinkedIn platform, where people will kind of use as an opportunity to brag, and to kind of where and I guess my issue with that isn't necessarily like, hey, you should celebrate your successes and your victories. But if I never hear from you otherwise, and you're just coming on to tell me how great you are, like I don't know if that is necessarily the best way to present yourself from a broad network. I'd rather see some value, some meat on the bones. Give me something to work with that's actually going to improve myself. And I know people will probably say, oh, you're just being petty. But I think that there's enough people out there that have said the same thing, that the feel-good stories are kind of annoying. And I would say the feel-good stories, especially that seem like they are generic, and I think a lot of them are just made up, to be perfectly honest with you. Especially, I've seen people recycling and changing around names and kind of dates types of things on some of these feel-good stories, and I know that some people just sit there and make these things up just to get viral content to go, and that is especially annoying, to be scrolling through your feed and you can't really find stuff that's really relevant. So I think a lot of people get annoyed by the LinkedIn platform because of these feel-good stories, and if there was less of that and maybe a little bit more actual beneficial content that was on the platform, that would be of help. Me personally, I try to contribute by putting out some beneficial content. So if you are not following me on LinkedIn and you want to follow somebody that doesn't put out a bunch of feel-good stories and made-up stuff and all that stuff, so you feel free to send me a connection request, and make sure you put in the note that I saw you on YouTube or saw you wherever you saw you, and that you enjoy my content, so that I will actually hit the accept button. Taking that a step further, this is another annoyance of mine, there are these LinkedIn influencers, and some of them are very popular, and some of them have very big followings. But in almost every case, I have noticed that these LinkedIn influencers, especially these big ones, they generally will repost the same things over and over again, and it's usually very generic, and it's usually stuff like, I hope today is the day that you're gonna have the maximum success, and your one connection can change your life, and all that. I mean, it's just like this kind of like feel good. It's very shallow stuff, and when you look at the content and then you look at the people who are posting the content, there's not usually a lot of depth to their experience. It's just somebody that kind of fell into the algorithm, started posting stuff. In a lot of cases, they're giving hiring advice on stuff that they have no business giving hiring advice on. They've never hired a person. They've never gone through an interview process as an employer. So they're out there acting or presenting themselves as if they're some sort of expert. So I have an issue with, and I don't follow any of these major, what I would call LinkedIn influencers. I even have seen cases where I've seen LinkedIn influencers flat out rip people off, and I've seen them rip me off. Honestly, I've seen them take my thumbnails and turn them into videos and video ideas that were almost directly mirroring what I've done. And I've seen them take almost word by word things that I've put on my channel or my page, and then I've seen them a day later or 2 days later, almost word for word on their page. So just to me, it's kind of like, and maybe I'll get a nasty grammar too from one of them, but I'm sure they don't even watch my channel, but it's almost like bottom feeder type of stuff. And I hate to be as harsh as I'm probably sounding, because I'm not really intending it to be that harsh. But it is kind of annoying to the point where I've had to start muting some of them, because I don't want to see the same kind of fluffy, feel-good, motivational rah-rah coming through. Now, I post motivational stuff, but it's really, I try my hardest to make it more pointed and more give you the same kind of tips that I give on my channel. So I'm sure somebody will say, well, you post motivational stuff too, and yeah, it's true, but I do try to give you more actionable stuff than not just hey, you're gonna do a great job today. Because let's face it, when you're in a situation where you're unemployed or underemployed and you're struggling, like somebody coming up and saying you can do it, probably is not the message that you want to hear. So LinkedIn influencers, if that's you, I'm sorry to kind of call you out, but I find that to be annoying. Okay, so the last major issue that I want to cover in today's video about the LinkedIn platform is people in the comment section or people ranting. And I'm sure you've seen it. You go onto a comment, somebody will post something political or politically charged, and especially in the current environment that we're in, there's very charged up people on all sides of the spectrum who are triggered very easily, and it becomes a very toxic cesspool very quickly on some of these platforms and in the comments. So when people start to post about political nature, and then you start to see all of these comments that follow behind it, and it becomes these people who don't know each other start arguing and calling each other names and all of this stuff. And I'm sitting there looking at, these are like CEOs of companies and senior directors, and there's like quality engineers and all these people, and I'm going like, you guys realize that we, as recruiters, I can see your entire conversations all across the platform, because when it starts to go viral, and especially on those ones that do go viral, they start to go, when you engage on it, now it connects and spider webs out to everybody in my my network, everybody else in my network. So if I engage on that, it's going to be seen by potentially 100,000, hundreds of thousands of people. And if that's the branding message that you want to put out about your own personal brand, then that's your choice, but I would not recommend that you do that at all. So if you're on the LinkedIn platform and you see a politically charged conversation going on, it's best just to keep scrolling on by and don't get engaged with it, because it doesn't help you on any level. We all know that arguing on the internet and getting into verbal fights back and forth with people doesn't solve anything, except all it does is just get people even more riled up. In fact, that's probably one of the reasons why I don't engage with people who leave me trolly comments, because there's nothing productive that comes out of it. If you have an opinion that's very strong, you're free to leave it, but I'm not going to engage it. So if you see those political comments, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll never see me comment on one of those. All right, so those are the 6 major issues that I have with the LinkedIn platform. I want to reiterate, though, that I do really like the platform in general. There are some things that I don't like about it, but in general, I think it's a really valuable tool for a job seeker and somebody that is looking to build their personal brand. So if you're somebody that's on the fence about wanting to have a LinkedIn or not have a LinkedIn, I would absolutely encourage you to create your LinkedIn profile and start really using it for the proper purpose. Because again, you're going to get the best quality opportunities that will come your way, and it's a great chance for you to network with other like-minded people. But if you need more help with your job search, that's actually something that I specialize in. I've got a website called alifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks, all from a recruiter's perspective. I actually have a couple of training courses too that are loaded with my deepest and most intimate knowledge. The first one is called Resume Rocketfuel. It's designed to teach you exactly how to write a resume that's going to give you the best chance of getting noticed by that recruiter on LinkedIn or otherwise. And the purpose of your resume is to get you that first round of interview. So once you get that first interview, then it's up to you to sell yourself throughout the rest of the steps of the interviewing process and land that offer. And that's where the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp comes in. It's designed to teach you exactly how to handle each step of the interviewing process in a very methodical and detailed way, with the goal of preparing you for the best chance of landing your dream offer. And I actually have a LinkedIn training course that I've got in the works right now. Who knows, by the time you actually watch this video, maybe it'll be up. I know that LinkedIn can be a very polarizing place to spend your time, but I still recommend that you get on there. Appreciate you watching. If you found value on this video, if you could give me a thumbs up, that sure would help the algorithm, help other people find the content that they're looking for. And we will see you on the next one.